The only person in the world I need to thank is me, because I did it all. I did it all by myself. I didn't need any of you. I didn't need my family members. I didn't need anyone but me. No one. There's not one person in the world that's ever helped me.
You've just jumped inside the pull bag. Join TFG1Mike and the rest of the comic reading crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, IDW, Boom Studios, Zenoscope, and more, we have everything you want to read right here. Transformers comics? Yeah, we cover that. He-Man? Yeah, sure. DC superheroes like Batman, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Batman Beyond? Yep, we have those too. How about TMNT from IDW and I Hate Fairyland from Image Comics? Yeah, we have all that here. Plus, so much more. It's all inside the pull bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. So without any further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we are reading right now here inside the pull bag.
After no holds barred last night, it's going to be another battle with Evolution here tonight.
The Architect of the Shield is loading up with the toys as well. Now you got to fight fire with fire.
In case you haven't figured it out yet, what I do better than anybody is adapt. Last night was plan A. Tonight, plan B. There's always a plan B.
Hello and welcome to the Pull Bag. This is episode 316. I'm, of course, TFG1Mike. Joining me for the first time in 2018, at least, is Ryan, the UnEvenFlow Merkley. Hello, sir.
First time on this podcast.
No, you're a damn liar.
What? Yeah, first time on this podcast this year, I mean. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, we just spent...
No, my point is I joined you a bajillion other times.
Yeah,
on other
okay.
shows.
I was going to say, wait a second
Jeez.
here. We did 2 months worth of Transformers comics last year.
No, I didn't mean
first time. Okay, I'm like, what is that?
Welcome to the Petty Bickering Podcast.
I think I need to start hitting the bottle. Oh, God.
Are you saying that you should rebuild,
redesign, rebuild, reclaim?
Yes.
Yes. God, it's been so long since that whole arc happened. It's like, wow, this is a refresher. Okay, folks, so we're here. Episode 316, even though Stone Cold is nowhere near it, but we are starting to review Boom Studios' WWE comics. This is a crossover between the Pull Bag and Mayhem Mikes. We're going to be talking about Volume 1, as Ryan said, God, now you're going to make me screw it up. Redesign, Rebuild, Reclaim, which is basically
I had the page with all the info open, like, before the podcast, but...
And then you closed it.
Well, no, I was going to say, behind the curtain, I had problems with the router, so I put the plugged back straight into the modem, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, now the page doesn't want to reload.
That's silly.
Yeah, well.
So...
The joy of the webs.
Yes, exactly. So, this basically is the comic version of the rise and eventual breakup of the S.H.I.E.L.D., Seth going on his journey under the Authority's thumb, and then eventually breaking off from them. It is written by Dennis Hopeless. Oh, that's an unfortunate last name.
I think we joked about that before we... Like, as in when we were talking about doing this a couple weeks ago, yeah. Like, anyway, yeah, that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And it's weird that there's a writing credit. So for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, this is based on the WWE. This is based around 3 characters / people, whatever you want to consider. But I mean, they're basically actors playing characters,
right?
And in terms of the writing, yeah, this is, like you said, this is a retelling of an arc that was,
2012 to 2014, I think. I think it was 2 years.
It was at least, it was well over a year and a half. I don't know if it made it for the full 2 years.
It
but
did,
the
because
Shield
it was like, right, trust me, I'm diehard on the Shield, so I'm glad we're doing this now. But I believe it was right up to, like, you can tell in the book, like, it specifically says, that's what I love about this. I wasn't sure going into this how this was going to be, but what I love is that they basically set each event, like, the actual date that thing happened, kind of a thing. Like, it'll say April da-da-da-da-da of this year, Monday Night Raw, or whenever Extreme Rules happened, or whenever Money in the Bank happened, or whatever. That's what I love about this.
So, you mentioned the writer, now the artist.
Yes, the artist is Dan Mora.
I just want to stop there, because, so this is the pull bag. We usually review a lot of different comics. I read a ton of comics personally. I know you do too, but most of them are based on superheroes or
giant robots, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and on occasion there's stuff that's based around intellectual properties that already exist.
Right.
Like Ghostbusters, or IDW has a number of X-Files, that kind of thing.
Right.
Where the artist has to draw people or actors. And even within that, take their Ghostbusters series. Whenever an artist comes and goes, the style just completely changes. Right. So I want to single out Morrow here because he's got a really difficult job. He's unlike the people who draw, say, Captain Marvel or Batman Beyond or anything like that. He has to actually make things look like people.
Yeah, he has to. Okay, so here's the thing. It's WWE. It's a comic version of WWE. It has to look like the people that it is. Dan was on the prologue, and then chapter 1 to 4 was done by Serge Acuna. Acune. I don't know. I'm sorry. I butcher names all the time.
Yeah, sorry. So and then he's got the enjoyable job of, okay, there's somebody else's artwork already on this.
Yep.
Now I've got to be similar, but I have my own style and different. So I really want to point out the artwork on this as being quite good.
Yes.
And then you've got the added issue of, I'm sure, because this is how WWE advertises their characters and their people, they're larger than life. So I'm sure there was some element of, no, you got to make them look, like superheroes or... But alternatively, they need to look realistic. They need to look like the characters, because most of the people that are reading this will be people that have seen them on TV, so they know what they look like. And if if Roman Reigns is 3 feet shorter than Dean Ambrose, somebody's going to go, well, that's not how they look. It's silly. So I feel like the artists are already. I feel like they had the toughest job, with no disrespect meant to Mr. Hopeless. Man, that feels weird to say. Anyway,
no disrespect to Dennis.
Yeah,
yes,
but it's just unfathomable to me. Part of that's because I'm not an artist, obviously, but it's unfathomable to me to have to do that job. To first of all come up with it and have it look like everybody involved, because I mean it's not just the Shield in these. You can't draw anybody else and have them not look accurate either.
Yeah.
And then to be the artist that's got to follow up that and say, all right, well, the prequel's already done, so try to make it at least a little bit like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, gee, thanks. So I already got to look like people. I got to make it look like somebody else who came before me that maybe their style's not the same as me. And it's still got to look good. Ah, gee, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the easy job.
We talk about this all the time on Mayhem Mics and what they do and whatever else. I gotta say, I was watching through that whole the beginning of the Shield, the end of the Shield, Seth's heel turn and all that. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole storyline more reading this than I did watching it. Because once he grabs that chair, I'm like, no, the Shield was the best thing ever at the time, and I'm like, God, don't do this. And Yeah, I will say that the writer Dennis, he's got you said the artist has the more difficult job here. I'd say that's obviously true. I'm in agreement a little bit, but I'd say that
No, I'm not saying, yeah, it's still difficult, and I think he does a great job of what you're hinting at, which is he captures all the right beats.
He captures all the right beats, and he captures the personalities. Again, this is starting off with Seth, Roman, and Dean is the Shield. And, this opening chapter here, we're not going to go page by page or anything, but I'm just kind of scrolling through this. Dean gets pissed because he doesn't have, coleslaw, potato salad, that's what it is. And he kicks the grill. And he kicks the grill over and ruins the steaks. And they're basically cooking steaks on top of the one of the raw equipment trucks. Now, this is why I love this series at this point. Yes, we know the stuff about what happened in the ring. We don't know the fallout before and after, yada, 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 and how they are together outside of what we saw on television. And that's why I love this, because you get to see a story built around the story that happened in the ring.
But I'd also say that the artist did a great job. No, I'd also say the writer did a great job of eliminating a lot of the filler. Mm-hmm. We talk about this on Mayhem Mics all the time. Mm-hmm. Raw is 3 hours long.
Yep.
It's too freaking long.
Yep.
It bores me to tears sometimes. And this book gets to eliminate a lot of the stuff that's non-important. It gets to add stuff that, like you say, we didn't see that was off camera that is important, or at least it's more fun, or it points to their character more than maybe some of the Raw segments. Because, I mean, the other issue with the 3 hours of Raw is what's done with it. It's very up and down. Yep. And even as far back as 6 years ago now, it had that problem. The Shield was entertaining, but other stuff wasn't always great or well written. I wasn't a huge fan of some of the stuff with CM Punk. Some of it was great, but others, it just felt like they were just being kind of thrown into that storyline as a, hey, we need to get these guys on camera, or hey, we want to make this more convoluted so the freaking feud lasts another 3 months when it shouldn't.
When it shouldn't,
So, it gets to eliminate all that, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of fun. This is, I don't know. So, would you recommend it to somebody that didn't watch wrestling? Okay.
Absolutely, because here's the thing. What if, so as I'm cycling through this, I'm still in chapter 1. Dean has just basically stolen the equipment truck because Roman's sitting up there on the top, and Seth got a phone call and he's kind of weird about it, and Roman comments that it's kind of weird. All of a sudden, the truck starts moving. Well, in Dean Ambrose fashion, he stole the truck. And Dean and Roman have a conversation because Roman jumps into the cab here. And then you go to SmackDown, whenever the next night's SmackDown was, yada, yada, yada. And what I love about this, and what you don't get to see on television a lot of the times, and I've mentioned this for the last 3 years on Mayhem Mics, you've got a panel here where Roman and Bray Wyatt are fighting, and Bray's saying to Roman, and you can clearly hear this, maybe not on TV, I don't think so. Sometimes they let you, sometimes they don't. I am the eater of worlds. Over in the corner, Dean says, you're the eater of something. We would not normally hear that. So someone who has never seen WWE and wants to start somewhere, starting with this comic, not only does this give you the story behind the story, in the ring and out of the ring, it gives you a chance to see, this is WWE style of wrestling. This is the comic version of what this could look like on TV. Maybe, hey, after reading this trade, I want to go check out a WWE thing on the network or something. So yeah, I would recommend this to anybody who has never watched a single episode of Raw, SmackDown, whatever. For us diehards, though, I think it's great because, again, as you already said, it cuts out a lot of the BS.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, too, that you'll get a guy like Rollins, who, in real life, I won't use his real name, but yeah, in real life, he is a nerd. He's big into video games. He knows his comics and that kind of thing. I always wonder how ridiculously fun it is for him he can go to the store, he can find action figures of himself all over the place, and he can find comic books of himself. It's going to be pretty neat. If you told him 20 some odd years ago he would be able to buy an action figure of him and read a comic book of him, that'd probably blow his mind.
Yep. So, I don't know when he said this. I'm sure he said this somewhere, whatever. And obviously, it's just for the comic. And I didn't notice this when I first. I've had this comic in my Comixology for, I don't know, the better part of a year and a half at this point. Whenever this came out, I've been sitting on this for so long. I never noticed the quote by Rollins on the front cover of the trade. You want to learn how I built the blueprint to become the Kingslayer? Read this book. I mean, you're right. He just absolutely loves it, digs it. I hope a lot of the WWE people, the superstars specifically, will read this series and see what they think of it and all of that. So this is back at a time when the Shield were kind of going up against the Wyatt family, because the Wyatt family was still together back then. Bray, Rowan, and Harper.
And they hadn't been buried.
Yeah.
Lost a whole bunch of times.
I gotta say, though, this comic captures the character of Wyatt almost better than television does.
Bray is perfectly fit. Bray's a guy that his character should be on TV as well. Much better than it's been portrayed. I don't want to get too much into the TV show because we're talking about comics.
About the comic, right? Yeah,
he is one of those guys that he's perfectly suited to be a comic book character. Like, he could literally be a villain in Batman or something like that, just with the way he is. So yeah, it didn't surprise me.
What I love throughout this is the narration that they do for Seth, like the internal monologue. I think that is so cool how they set all of that up, basically giving us, his inner thoughts at the time of these events. Like the second chapter starts with his Money in the Bank win, after obviously destroying the Shield.
Yep.
We then have Dean and Roman going after him, obviously. And again, we saw a part of this, but we didn't see all of it. And this, I'm sure, isn't all of it. And this, I'm sure, is a little bit embellished. But that's what I'm wondering here. How much did WWE say yay or nay to the creative staff at Boom Studios and to the people that are in charge? Like, I'm sure Boom Studios wanted to make the best comic that they could, and they wanted to get as many details as they could as far as what actually happened. But I'm wondering how much of the writing is quote-unquote WWE approved.
Who knows? I mean, it's possible that I wouldn't be surprised if they had their notes from the writers or something like that. And that's how some of the backstage stuff, that maybe this was stuff that was written for TV but didn't get to air, or they ran out of time, or they just decided against using it, and they got the opportunity to write it. Or it's potentially that, who knows, maybe we'll get a chance to ask him sometime, but it's also there's potential there that the writer was just told, hey, you just go with these characters, try to fill in some blanks, and keep them in character, but try not to.
And again, like the whole behind the scenes thing of, Triple H constantly, making Seth wait and saying Seth isn't ready yet or whatever.
Yeah. No suffering succotash.
Thank God for that.
I'm not gonna lie, there was part of me that was kind of waiting to see. Probably gonna leave that out, but I'll take a look and see. Yeah.
I know this wouldn't have happened because it's not real to WWE, but the part of the issue here with the Seth Randy match, when the referee counts, I envision that ref as being Mills Lane because the ref is a bald white guy. And then obviously you have
By the way, now I'm tempted to see who the ref was. If it was actually,
I think it was. It looks like a younger version of Mike Chioda, but I could be wrong.
Oh, who knows? Yeah, it's probably not Charles Robinson or someone like that.
No, it's a bald white dude. The only person I can think of is
Charles Robinson. Would probably be fun for the artist to draw, because basically you're drawing a smaller Ric Flair.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Go ahead.
I love how this one ends, where because this part of the story, Seth gets introduced to one of his heroes in Shawn Michaels. And Shawn basically tells him, you decide to stop waiting around for permission, and this kind of sets Seth on the path of what we've seen of him cashing in on Roman during the Roman Lesnar Universal Championship match. And this sets up seeing Paul Heyman in comics, everybody. Yay!
Another guy who's basically a comic book character.
He is, yeah.
My name is Paul Heyman, and I am the advocate for the most non-PG ass kicker of the PG era, Brock Lesnar!
I could see, even though the Joker loves to talk himself, I could see Paul Heyman being the Joker's face man, or whatever you want to call it.
He could be pretty much anybody's, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
He's a good talker, for anybody who doesn't know who we're talking about. Yeah. He is another one that... Heyman is very much a promoter, and he is in real life as well. Mm-hmm. And he is like nobody else. His life story and his life arc is astounding.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, this whole second part of the story here, the second chapter, basically, has Lesnar and Heyman versus Seth, and has Kane coming in as Corporate Kane. The only thing I didn't... Yeah, I know. The only thing I did not like about this entire issue, I thought it was a little bit too on the nose. The name of the ship. The Cerebral I'm like, no, you don't... No, don't do that. Don't do that. Come on, guys. I mean, I know it's WWE, and I know it's over the top, but come on. So what were you thinking as you read through this, going through all these events again? Like, what were your... By the time we get to the Lesnar-Rollins stuff...
So just as a whole, I've just kind of been summing it up, but just as a whole, I was just surprised at how well it translated. We hinted at this in the intro, to print. Mm-hmm. It's not something I would have expected would make for a decent read. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of thought about it more and more, and there's a lot of similarities in storytelling. Mm-hmm. You look at longtime X-Men, it's basically at this point a soap opera that's been running for 50 some odd years. I mean, realistically, that's what a lot of the comic books are. They're it's just kind of an up and down soap opera. Even the Transformers stuff we talk about, it all is. It's about characters who are larger than life, who don't necessarily exist. Well, not necessarily, generally don't exist in real life. And that's basically what this is. And it translated much better. And like I said before, I spent a lot of the time marveling at the art. Because I'm one of those people that I'm not an artist. I didn't devote myself to it. And at some point, I probably could or should just for fun. But I look at stuff like that and I think to myself, how do you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't get it. And so that was one thing I was blown away by. And yeah, like you had said before, just it was impressive how they managed to truncate, because this is a trade.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a single trade of a storyline that took roughly 2 years.
Right.
Actually, probably 2 years plus when you add in when you add in the post breakup stuff.
Right.
And they managed to do a good job of summing everything up. They didn't miss anything important. Mm-mm. They managed to cut out the stuff that was not important, like we said before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just impressed overall. And as I said before, part of me reads it and wonders if you're somebody, because as I said before, most comics are not based on real people. If you're somebody that these comics are based on, how cool is it to sit and read? I just can't imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down and read, hey, that's me. I said that on this date.
Mm-hmm.
And this is me on a printed page. And actually
saying what I...
comic book. Yeah, saying what I said on that date.
Exactly.
So I can go on the network, or I can go on YouTube or wherever and see a live video of myself, or I can read a comic, or I can reenact it with action figures, some of which talk. It's just nuts to me.
Exactly. That's what I want to see. I want to see the Shield, all three of them, Dean, Seth, and Roman. I want to see all three of them with their Funko figures reenacting this entire thing.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, that's
that
beside
the point.
Yes, I know, right? So, here in issue 2, we get to the point of the Battleground, July 19th, 2015. So, in the first 2 issues of this series from Boom Studios, we have 3 years of the WWE covered in the first 2 issues of the comic. Yes, this is the trade that we are talking about right now, but the fact that this is all of that, and, you know, we get to Suplex City, we get to...
Which I'm not sure says good things about their writers for some time. But
you mean WWE writers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, no, WWE. Definitely not. Yeah, Dennis.
Yeah, no. Dennis is amazing. Dennis did great job on this. So we get to this match between Brock and Seth. And then we get the Krakoom onomatopoeia, and holy crap. The Undertaker in a comic book. I don't think I've ever seen this.
So he has had a couple. I looked this up at one point. Oh, and of course now I don't know what it was. All right, well, anyway. So, yeah, he has appeared because they've done comic books based on them before.
Right.
And he is another guy that is very much... I mean, his character was developed in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to put it mildly, he is a comic book character. He is one of those guys that they came up with in the era of You Were Your Profession.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, you know, we had Duke the Dumpster Drosy, who was a garbage man. We had the Goon, who was a hockey fighter, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, The Undertaker's one of the only guys who managed to endure that and go beyond the character and actually endure for decades and decades to come. And a lot of that is because he's pretty much a comic book character. I mean, you can use him in whatever capacity, but seeing him was always an event. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was like seeing one of your superheroes, because they always had this mythos around him. So he's another one that works in the pages.
Yeah, very true.
And the art on him, by the way, is really good. Because, I mean...
That's what
You've got to shade so much of the guy.
Well, my jaw dropped when I knew it was coming, obviously, because, again, part of the storyline is, you know, not necessarily with Seth, but part of the storyline with Lesnar is, this is when Undertaker came in, this is when Undertaker and Lesnar's feud had happened, and yeah, just seeing that, wow. Yeah, you have to shade so much of the guy. The reason why you have to do that is because of his tattoos on his arm. I was going to mention this earlier about Roman, how the artists do get away with doing Roman's tattoos. I thought that was really, really cool. But yeah, here you have to shade Taker so much because of those tats.
They do have some of it as well, too. Like, actually, that is something I should have pointed out when I was talking about the art, that these guys... Dean has tattoos, too, but I think they're under his shirt.
Yeah, that's why he wears
those are covered. But Romans are out there, and so he does have to draw them on occasion, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that, you've got to get those touches, or, yes, you've got to remember to shade it or something else, because same thing as before, somebody's sitting there going, that's not accurate, or that's not his tattoo.
Yeah. So we get to the point where Seth is in the match with Kane, and this is where his injury happens. I love how they did this. Basically making the injured part of his leg red, like glowing red pinkish thing, and his reaction to it. And then we go into the whole aftermath of him being on the shelf, which is most of Chapter 3. Beginning of Chapter 3, we get, him as a young kid. Now, this is where the artist can take a lot of leeway, because unless they were given pictures of Seth as a young kid, doesn't really look like the Seth Rollins we know.
Yeah, not to mention, who knows in terms of accuracy. Is this Seth Rollins' childhood? Is it Tyler Black? Et cetera, et cetera. You can do whatever you want with it.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I have no idea, if that is what he looked like as a kid.
Yeah.
Don't have a clue at all. I do find the injury stuff interesting when recently for Mayhem Mike's, we just watched the special on Finn Balor where, we got to see the actual rehabbing of some behind-the-scenes stuff of him trying to come back from that.
Yeah.
It just made a nice kind of bookend to it, I guess.
Yeah, it did. The only thing in the writing that I find really, really weird is the medical staff part. This is Seth friggin' Rollins. We can't screw this up. Like, my kid will be pissed at me. I'm like, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not accurate.
I'm pretty sure no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that again is somewhere
to be fair, after the CM Punk trial, I'm sure the medical staff probably just gave him a couple antibiotics and told him to get on his feet. So
yeah.
Oh, I'm going to hell for that. Anyway, and then like some CM Punk legal jokes to go over everybody's head. Anyway.
Oh, God, that's just not good. So, Seth has gotten through the surgery. He's rehabbing. Triple H comes to see him, that kind of stuff. And basically has to relinquish the belt and all of that. And I thought this... So we get back to Seth's apartment, and he's playing Drum X. I thought it was Drunk X at first for some odd reason. I don't know why, but he's playing basically Rock Band essentially. And
he was playing non-discriminate game title.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said Drum X.
No, I know. I'm just
But
can't say Rock Band in this comic. No.
Rock Band, Guitar Hero, something.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Yeah. So this whole time, though, throughout this scene, he's talking to his mom as time is passing, and he's watching he's watching the shows and all of this and everything else, and he sees Roman win the championship, and that basically makes him break his drum set and throw it into the TV. So now he has a broken TV. His doorbell rings. It's time for some bootios. I was not expecting this at all.
Again, I don't think that happened, but who knows?
Who knows?
Probably not. But anyway, it's fun, yeah. And I don't know if this was shoot, I should have looked this up. If the artist got to continue on the series after this, i.e., did he do the next trade? I am unsure. But I wonder too if this is did the writer or artist just want to include the New Day for fun?
Right.
I assume so, and it's cute. I mean, it works.
Yeah. I assume
it didn't.
so.
It didn't feel like they were shoehorned in, or
Right.
that it came. That it didn't make sense or anything like that. I just wonder if it's a thing where somebody wanted to draw them.
Yep.
Because they're another group of people who are very much characters that fit into this.
Oh, yes, they are.
You hated them back then.
Back then, and now I have their Funko Pop from Toys R Us. Hey, it was the last thing I bought from Toys R Us. Leave me alone. Because Toys R Us is no longer. Okay, I'm looking on Comixology.com, Volume 2, The Lunatic Fringe. So, hey, yay, we get to go through Dean's stuff next time. Dennis Hopeless, and Sir, yeah, so it is the same artist.
Okay, no, I was just curious if this was a scenario that they wanted the chance to... Because I think that happens to a lot of people. You work on a book for, say, Marvel or DC or something, but you grew up reading Batman, and your book is something else, but you get that one chance. You're working for the company. This is your one chance to draw Batman. So you find a way to kind of make it happen. I was curious if it was something like that, but I guess not. So it made sense. I guess you wanted them in the book. Huh?
Yeah. So far, the creative team is on all 3 trades, so they're on all the way up through issue 12 of the series. I don't know where the series is currently in single issue. Not sure. They're on issue 18, so obviously they're in another arc. And, yep, still, I'm looking at issue 18 right now. It's Kevin and Sammy, so they're on the cover anyway. So, yeah, it is the same same creative all the way through so far. So Seth wants to take a bat to the New Day's head.
Which I feel like if you do that outside of a wrestling ring, it's probably an assault charge. I feel like that's a bad idea.
But whether this happened in real life or not, the way the story plays out... No, I know, but I'm saying, whether the New Day actually showed up to his apartment or not, the way the story is told, they bring him a bunch of VHS tapes of old WWE, WWF stuff, and one of the tapes in there is his hero, Shawn Michaels. And it basically gives him renewed vigor. This is where the redesign, rebuild, reclaim comes in. What I love about this is his old garb. He's sitting in his wheelchair. His old garb. He looks at it or whatever. He says, "Just not good enough. Not anymore." And then he starts this whole process and everything else. And he does the rehabbing, like we said. And he goes to get back in the ring. So.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, that's the journey. The crazy thing is, during this whole journey, we've seen Sheamus throughout this on several parts, but we end up seeing John Cena, and I'm like, okay, that's John. I don't think he's drawn as big as he actually is, but it's John. Yeah. He's got a never give up shirt on, so it's John Cena.
He'll get drawn bigger when he's the star of the book.
Yeah, probably. That's the crazy thing. Like, through issue 1 through 12, or issue 0 through 12, or whatever it is, it's basically the entire arc of the Shield, because Volume 2 is Dean and Volume 3 is Roman. So that's what we have in store for ourselves. As the book closes out, like I said, he gets medically cleared. I wonder, what I really want to know is, does he really have this car? That's what I want to know. Is that really his car, or is that just some artist rendition that they wanted to give him? Because that's a cool car. Anyway.
He had... I'm trying to remember. There was a story about it. And he was talking about it on a podcast, that he had a hybrid or one of the electric cars or something like that. And... he had problems with it, and there was a story that I now don't remember, so I'm not... This was completely pointless of me to bring up, so,
So this part of the story is basically him trying to break back onto the scene, and Triple H is stopping him at every point that he can. Triple H basically says to the entire crew of wherever they are, you either stop him or you're fired. And Seth finds a way to get in, whether he has to scale the building or not. I love the little in-between shot of gold dust. I'm like, really? That's who you throw in there? And then obviously they're going to have the whole locker room stop him. He meets up with AJ Styles in the bathroom, and of course AJ betrays him. Kind of a thing. Huh?
I think AJ was bad back then.
Yeah,
too.
he was.
Yeah.
Of course he was.
It's actually good continuity then. Mm-hmm. Now that I think about it. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Triple H is mad as hell. This is when he gets all of the rest of the locker room involved. You see KO, you see Jericho, because again, this was back during that time before that ended.
Yay.
Yay. This is what I love about this closing thing here. This last or second to last issue, whatever it is. It's weird. I haven't walked the concourse in years, not since the Shield days. Still feels right, though, and still feels natural, out among the people. Good luck tracking me up. Gah, another one. He runs into another security guard, obviously, because they're going to be all over the concourse.
To be fair, anyone that's watched WWE TV knows how skilled the security guards always are.
Oh, yeah.
At stopping wrestlers. Not to mention, they apparently don't even know who Kevin Owens is.
Yeah. So Seth ends up being really ingenious, and he ends up disguising himself as a unicorn for the New Day. We get Seth versus Owens. That was a cool. That was a cool thing, and I can hear Seth saying this. I got a prize right here, Cracker Jack, when they're face to face. I love that. I think that's cool.
Poor Kevin.
Poor Kevin. You know, he'll get over it. and then Seth, again, the architect. He uses his brain. Holy crap, Seth Rollins, the one and only WWE Universe. You're in luck tonight. Welcome to the pop-up Triple H meet and greet. I really hope that's a real life thing that he actually did. That would have been so cool. I don't know. But anyway.
I have no idea. It could have happened. Maybe not.
And so he doesn't he doesn't get the championship back yet at the end of this, because Roman still has it. He attacks Roman. That's what it is. Seth friggin' Rollins is back, and he's done doing what he's told. Yada yada yada. I loved this. I thought this was great.
Yeah, overall, it's. I've said it before. It's worth a read, and I feel like you outlined the reasons why somebody who didn't watch it might want to read it, and it makes sense to me. I mean, I lived it. Wow. No, I did not live it. I watched it when it was live. Didn't quite live it. What with my physical skill of, no skill whatsoever. But no, it's really worth a read. I think it is. I feel like if you're an artist or something like that, you should give it a look.
Yeah.
Because, again, I feel like that's really interesting. And, I think the storyline works. It might have worked a little better if it was a full sort of circle or redemption story, but
right.
We all know what's happened to the belt in the last couple of years, which we talk about on Mayhem Mics. But it's
basically stood still is what it's done.
But in terms of comic stuff, it still works fairly well. It would have been kind of neat to see it ended the way it began, roughly, with, roughly after his betrayal arc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm curious how I'm curious how much of this the other books are going to encompass, because I mean, this focused on Seth.
The next one will focus on Dean, and then after that will be Roman.
Exactly. So Dean has a pretty similar arc, though, and he is still, to this day, injured.
Yep.
Unfortunately. But Dean, after the breakup, he floundered just a little bit, but it didn't take him long to find his footing, and he also gained a world title. But then, before he had the chance to really compete to get it back, suffered the injury, which, it's been a while now. And so I'm curious how much of that book is going to have to be a retelling of this one, or if they're going to add a lot more supplemental material in terms of backstage, rather than just reprint stuff that was in Roman's story that involved them.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Or, sorry, he and Roman's.
Yeah.
And subsequently, Roman, I have the same issue, but Roman hasn't been injured, so he hasn't missed that time that the other two have. So I think his story, there's a lot more to tell about it. But yeah, it's Dean's that I'm really curious about how they go about some of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting when we get to these. The rest
and it's
of
fun
these
because it's different. It's one thing
that's
consistently read. Yeah, I read the Transformers books every month. I read a fair amount of superhero books, depending on who's writing them. You know, anything from Ta-Nehisi Coates or Jason Aaron and Mark Waid and Rucka and a handful of others. But yeah, this felt different, and part of that's because it is a retelling of an existing story. Yep. So it gets the bonus of they get to pick and choose what they show. But yeah, it's interesting to read something that you've already seen, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like reading the novelization of a movie, but it's not based on the earlier script or anything like that. So it actually gets to be stronger or take the stronger portions of the narrative rather than trying to figure out how the movie's going to turn out and what you focus on or what the audience liked.
Exactly. And that's kind of always been, like, I started out the pullback doing a lot of superhero stuff, a lot of early Marvel stuff, and not early Marvel, but, like, back in 2013 when the podcast started, I did a lot of Marvel tie-in stuff and things like that. I did almost all the Bat books from DC at the time when it was still the New 52, and as the podcast has expanded over the last 5 years, I've also tried to expand, you know, we have our staples like Transformers and He-Man and Batman Beyond and various other things, but adding something into the rotation is not bad at all. What would you give Volume 1, 0 to 5?
Give it a solid 4. I mean, it's not perfect, but
right.
It's definitely quite enjoyable, and it's a lot more than the filler that I think part of me feared it could be. Because this could have just been a cash-in, and you get your sales from the diehard fans,
right,
and that's it.
Right.
You know, they could have gone in and just no effort, or a poor artist and a poor writer, but obviously they didn't.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I know, I'd say 4 is pretty fair.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, 4 out of 5. I love the art. I love how well the artists have captured each of the personalities, each of the styles of all the characters that are involved in this, and the writing is just, oh god, this guy needs to write for WWE Creative, honestly, at this point. Like, I know he's just retelling, but like I said, the part of this that I love is all of that before and after, behind the scenes stuff of the breakup and each of their paths. Even though we don't really see Dean's path too much, we see, through Seth's eyes, we see Roman's path a little bit. So like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how Volume 2 and Volume 3 are. Just to give everybody a little preview, we're not doing this anytime soon because next month is Auto Volley August, so I'm not sure when we'll get back to WWE from Boom Studios. Volume 2, The Lunatic Fringe, Dean Ambrose decides to take his career to a new level, which begins with provoking the scariest man in the WWE, the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. But Dean's not alone as he finds an unlikely ally in the legit boss, Sasha Banks, collects issues 5 to 8 of the hit series.
Yeah, so they are going, jumping straight beyond, which I think is the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Also, to be fair, anything will be better than Dean's match against Brock at Extreme Rules. Oof. Anyway.
That was bad. Volume 3, when we get to that, Volume 3, Roman Empire. Roman Reigns, the big dog, the juggernaut, descendant of wrestling royalty, has made it to the top of the mountain in WWE, just as everyone predicted he would. But it's lonely at the top, and with the top 2 contenders for the WWE Championship being his former Shield brothers, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, keeping the title would be a lot harder than winning it. Collects issues 9 to 12. So that's the story for Volume 3. That's what it's gonna, so I like this. I think it's fun because, like you've already said, it's, it's something different, but also it is a thing where you're seeing different points in WWE that have already gone. Like, we're so far past all of this, but it's nice seeing it in a different medium than what has already transpired on television. So,
yeah, I mean, sorry, no, summed it up.
Yeah.
What do you want, a poem? Come on.
Yes. A WWE poem by Ryan Markley. No pressure.
Maybe I'll do that for... that's not a bad idea. Should try that for Mayhem Mike's next opening.
That's funny. Mayhem Mike's our next episode. Well, you would have already heard our next episode. It was the Hardy Boys episode, where we talked about the Hardy Boys Woken, because this is actually going to come out after that. Whoops. And then after that, we'll be doing Unextreme Rules, or Not Extreme Rules, or whatever the next pay-per-view is, which is Extreme Rules 2018. You can find me on Twitter. I am at TFG1Mike. What about you, sir? Where can the people find you online?
At Nightbeat on Twitter.
That's right. Follow at Geekcast Radio, at The Pullbag on Twitter as well. Next month, folks, you get, episodes 317 to 323. It's Autobotley August. So here's the rundown. Amy, Nicole, Heather, and myself are going to tackle Transformers Windblade, which was Distant Stars / Lost City, which is like issues 4 to 7 of the Windblade series, because the first 3 issues go with Combiner Wars. So, yay, continuity on that. Oh my god, how that's collected is just bad. At least until they hit the Ultimate Collection thing. Then we're going to tag, the 4 of us are going to tackle Till All Are One Volume 1. Steve and I are going to tackle Transformers vs. G.I. Joe Volume 1, which will be celebrating 10 years of all things Transformers. Ryan will be back, and we're going to talk about 2 trades in 1 podcast, Optimus Prime and Lost Light Volume 1 for each of those.
But I read all the others, too.
Of course you have.
Well,
I know you have.
I have them all.
I know you do.
Oh.
Requiem for the Wreckers, which is the final chapter in the Wreckers saga from Nick Roche. Till All Are One Volume 2, and then Ryan and I will end it with Optimus Prime and Lost Light Volume 2 for each of those. So that's what's going on in August here on the Pullbag. Make your great escape into comics. We will catch you next time. And please, folks, check out Boom Studios' WWE series. It is super fun.
Hey, right along. The Shield's in the car together.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pullbag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @thepullbag and @geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.
Holy scrap. I need a vacation.